Welcome back to our studio. I am your walking pastor, Pastor Bryan Reeves. Today we have an opportunity for you all to meet a very special guest, a very special friend of mine, Brian Beard. He is here with us, and we will recap our walk from Ascension to Cleveland, Ohio. And we will just spend this time allowing Brian to share with us his journey and his experience on the walk. And thank you for being with us. And more specifically, Brian, thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure.
So just really excited to be in this space. And I want to pause for a second and give a special thank you to the members of Emmanuel, and more specifically for the trustees for making this space. But it provides us an opportunity to move our studio off of Route 6 and also still have some space to process and talk about what it means to get attention for Ascension. Because as we shared and as we learned on the walk was not a one-time deal. It was a journey. And so I would like to just spend some time to talk to you about your perspective of the journey and what that was like for you.
Sure.
And so I guess I would love to know from the beginning, what made you want to be a part of this walk, a part of this journey to start?
Well, I think the first thing I remember the day that you came in and you mentioned this or hinted around to it. And to be totally honest, I think there's a couple things that made me want to be part of it. Well, the first thing that grabbed my attention is it's a little bit out of the ordinary to walk 312 miles anywhere. But I mean, I've done similar things, so why not? So I think it was in my wheelhouse as far as fitness and as far as adventure. But I think that as you shared with me about Ascension and the history and the roots and everything, something sparked in me that it's bigger than just you. There's a bigger picture.
Sure.
And that really appealed to me, that there's something bigger than just walking.
Right.
That there's a future of the scholars involved. That really appealed to me. So.
As you think about something bigger than yourself, what role do you think you played in this part of a journey for the scholars, for Ascension, and that bigger picture?
That's a great question.
And if I may, and even in my journey, what role?
Well, here's the thing that I think the Lord has been speaking to me about very clearly, probably in the last year. Sometimes when we have things like this that are coming up, we think that we have to take over the situation and command it. It's been very clear to me, the Lord has been telling me to walk with people. And there's a difference between taking command of it and walking with somebody in their journey. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have it figured out for them. You're just walking in agreement with that person.
Sure.
And I think in my past, I think that maybe I had a personality that sometimes wanted to take over and solve people's problems.
Okay.
When the Lord specifically was saying, walk with them. Don't do it for them, but walk in support. Big difference.
Sure.
Big difference in that. And I think the fact as far as you and I and just our history with training and everything, I guess I believe in you. I see what's down deep in your heart, what you want to do. I see the transformation that's taking place. I see God stretching you. And at the same time, he's stretching me. He's doing the same. So he's kind of working on both of us together. So to speak. So it's kind of neat.
As you talk about the role, I'd like an opportunity to take people a little further behind the scenes, because your role was much more than just walking, and just the intentionality, and if I may be so bold to share, the humility that you took once you realized that God was asking you to walk with me. One of the things, well, the first thing that blew me away is that the day that I shared, you asked, when do we leave? And so, just in my own spiritual journey, that's confirmation because I am a firm believer that all of us are smarter than one of us, and we're not in this alone. And the more people that we can get on board, the easier the journey becomes. Sure. And so, to have God place that on your heart uh, before we ever took a step was just humbling.
You know what? I guess I assumed when you said that it was we. I didn't know if you were asking or if you were hinting or what it was, but yeah, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
I totally loved it. So.
And I appreciate it. I wish that there was a way that I could communicate how, without even speaking, how God used you to make each of our training sessions and the homework that you gave so that my entire body was prepared for the walk. It's not just put on your tennis shoes or your boots and go walk. I mean, just even your explanations of the different muscles that will be affected in this, and just making sure that to the best of our ability, we were prepared and giving God room then to do his super. We give him our natural, and right. Then we will allow you to do the super.
Absolutely. You know, I think preparation is huge, and I think in anything that we do, there has to be an amount of preparation. You can come up with an idea and you can say, wow, hey, let's go do this and that, and you can have that zeal and that passion to do it, and then miss the preparation part and say, hey, you know, this is going to be difficult, so
right,
let's go ahead and get that difficult part over with our training. And that carries over with my business too. Whether I'm teaching a class or if I've got another client, I always want them to be prepared. If we're going to do a marathon, if we're going to do whatever the event is, we want to make sure that we're prepared so that when that time comes, you feel comfortable doing it.
Sure.
Or maybe not 100% comfortable, but that you feel adequately prepared for what's about to happen.
The other thing that I appreciated was that you made it very clear that this was my vision. And I am somebody who strongly am sold out to Habakkuk chapter 2, that if you write the vision and make it plain, others will run with it. Others will see it if it's clear enough. And what I need you all to know, and I think we shared this on the walk, prior to the day we left, I had never seen the route. I didn't do any of my training on the route. I need you all to know that my brother Brian drove that route several times and was telling me about the different widths of the shoulder and what to expect and what to anticipate. And I truly appreciated that. And I took comfort in the fact that God was surrounding me with people who understood the weight of this vision, but also understood their task, their role to make sure that walking for the scholars of Ascension, walking for Ascension could be the best opportunity possible, and that every detail matters. It's not just the walking, those kind of things matter. And when you're clear about what God has asked you to do, others can get on board because they see how God is using them to fit that role.
Right. You know, I agree with you as far as going ahead on the route and this and that. One thing that kind of stands out to me about that is when Brian, when we were walking, I never felt like we were in danger. I always felt like because we prayed over this route, God knew which way we were going to go. He ordered our footsteps.
Yeah.
I never felt like we were in danger, that we were doing anything that was going to put us in danger. I always felt like the cars would give us a wide kind of a way to go around. The trucks would go around. We would get honks. And almost like it was settled in my heart that God went ahead of me on my drive and set our path. So there was never that anticipation, oh, cars are getting too close or this or that. I always felt very safe.
Sure.
So somebody went ahead of me.
For sure.
For our way.
And one of the things about that, so I want to pick up on being safe. The walk also gave me an opportunity to live out some of my adventure. But my ability to do that, I have desire to be an on the scene reporter, and I think I even shared that during the walk. And I was doing some things because I had the luxury, and I want to use that word intentionally. I had the luxury of you being there to be my eyes and ears and a covering, so that I could do some crazier shots or talk a little longer than I probably should, or even give people the opportunity to see how close we were to these trucks and to these. And I know that that was kind of probably freaking you out. Not I kind of know. You shared with me. But it was a comfort for me to know that I could still do that and give people on our journey what I wanted to capture, knowing that God had sent you there. And the other comfort to me was just as partners in this walk, we had a commitment to each other. And you made a commitment to Sugar that you would keep me safe. And I remember the day we separated, and you spoke into my life, and I received it. But I don't know if I was able to effectively communicate how much I cherish that God put you there for that season, for me to be allowed to have that opportunity to capture that for the scholars, to capture that for Ascension, to capture that for Emmanuel, for people to be, for everybody who was watching on the journey, to be able to see from a different angle.
Yeah. You know what? In the back of my head, I remember that conversation, as far as keeping you safe and this and that. And I have to tell you, I felt a little bit kind of like a dad.
Sure.
That you were one of my kids, and I wanted you to enjoy, but at the same time, I wanted to be able to scout out things that could give us some issues or this or that. So, but I also got to watch you walk and watch the smile on your face, and I could see your wheels turning, and it's like, hey, this is an adventure. And you know, I feel like sometimes people think that God is a killjoy, and that we can't have fun and we can't do adventures and this and that. There's nothing farther from the truth.
Yeah.
We have a God that loves adventure and wants to see his kids be adventurous and be bold. There's something about physically exploring and being bold that translates into the spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that we're supposed to be bold, and we're supposed to have faith and trust. And the physical sometimes brings that out. I want to make that connection in everything that I do, that we can physically do something and show that there's a spiritual benefit down deep, if we'll find it,
Right.
if we'll look for it. But I got to watch you. I don't know if you knew I was watching you, but I got to see smiles on your face, different things that we've seen, whether it was things on the road that we've seen people discard, or it was the fact that the first time we stopped, on our first night, we stopped in front of what? Do you remember the building on the left-hand side? The Independent Cat Society?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and we both got a great laugh because we thought, what is an Independent Cat Society?
Right.
Do the cats that are independent need a clubhouse to go to, or what is it?
Yes.
So
Yes.
but you know, adventure can be fun.
Right.
And we can laugh and share that. And no offense to cat lovers out there.
Right.
But we had a great time.
Yes. And so thinking about that, and I often just am humbled by Emmanuel providing me the opportunity to do this for Ascension. And I don't take that lightly, to just say, here's our pastor, let him go walk for 312 miles for this school, for Ascension, of course, which is near and dear to my heart because my wife is the principal there. But you also have been a part of the Ascension journey almost as long as Sugar and I have. There's a story there as well. But as we took this walk, I guess the question I would have for you is, be it in preparation or the walk itself, what message would you want to send to the scholars of Ascension? What in that journey, just in a life journey, what was something that we could deposit with them to take with them?
Well, the first thing I would say is I am sharing your vision for what Ascension can be. I believe 100% in my heart that this could be, and we talked about being a lighthouse. We talked about being an oasis. I'm 100% in. I believe that with all my heart, that the scholars are going to come out of this um, with incredible knowledge. But I would say to them that there's nothing good that can happen without sacrifice.
Mm.
There has to be some kind of a
Yeah.
hardship that we go through to gain what we want. And I think that this world tells us that we can get what we want with no buy-in.
Yeah.
And that's a lie.
Yeah.
There is going to be sacrifice, but it's going to be good sacrifice and it's going to be worth it. That's the greatest thing, that there is going to be hardships, but you can get over them. It will make you stronger. So don't be discouraged when you get into something that's difficult, and just enjoy the journey that you go through.
Mhm.
There's profit there.
And I love that word. We so often make school, we make life, and unfortunately, we make our relationship with God about a destination and not about the journey. And we miss so much of the joy. As you mentioned earlier, we have come away with this notion that God is a killjoy. We miss so much of God's joy and hope and advancement in our lives because we don't take time to enjoy the journey. And I know I saw the smile, but part of our journey and the joy, which helps you get through the hard times, was, I don't remember the number, how many empty bottles of Fireball that we counted. How many empty vape sticks we counted. Now, on the surface, people will be taken aback because that's an alcoholic drink or that's tobacco. But for us on that journey, it was somewhat of a motivation. How many steps to the next one? And we got to talk about the hardship that one must be facing, that you're experiencing life through this many empty bottles. What is going on in that person's life? And so just enjoying the journey allows you to have a different perspective. It allows you to see people differently.
That's true. You think about it, if you're going down the road and you're going in a train and you're going 90 miles an hour, you get to see things very quickly. If you're in a car and you're going 60, maybe you can pick up a few things. If you're on a scooter, maybe you're going 30 or 40 miles an hour, you might be able to pick up a few more things that are on the road. But when you're walking, you see the details of the road, you see the potholes, you see all the different things, you see the litter, and it makes you think, what kind of person is that is going through that many bottles or vaping, and why are they going to that? So it generates some great conversations, didn't it?
It really did. And I know that we just talked about one of our personal highlights, but our shared personal highlights. But do you have a memorable part of the walk?
I think I don't have one thing that stands out.
Okay.
I liked certain parts of it, just made me smile inside and confirmed that this was the right thing.
Sure.
I think the first one being the Independent Cat Society was kind of funny.
Yeah.
We got to chuckle and talk about that. A couple of the things that stood out, the second day when we were in the McDonald's in La Paz, Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
and we had the meeting with the man that read your mail, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that was confirmation too that we were going the right direction. And God is so good to provide us things that we need on our journey at the right time.
Right.
And there was never a miss opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
That stood out. You asked me at the beginning of this, Brian, what do you want to see out of this? I'm like, well, I'm here for you. That's what I want. Mainly is to walk with you and support you. But he said, well, if you could have just one thing, what well, okay. I collect deer sheds, and deer sheds are antlers that fall off generally in
Yeah.
February and March. The male deers will lose their rack, and then they'll grow another one, and people hunt them. It's just kind of a thing. It's something that I started doing. So anyway, I told Pastor Bryan, I said, if we could find a deer shed, that'd be kind of cool, you know. So that was the last time that I even thought about that. When you said that, it immediately left my mind. And so we went on our journey for, you know, that for that 5 days, and it was getting towards the end where we were going to separate. And what happened? We were up on kind of a raised road, and you spotted that deer down there. And this is just a couple miles before the end. And it's just like God. Like just when you think your time's going to be out, we spotted the deer down in the ditch. And it took a little bit of wrangling to get, it wasn't actually a shed, it was a deer that was hit, you know, probably a few weeks before and just died down in the drainage ditch. So it took a little bit of effort to actually get the antlers off. We had to send Mike, our driver, back to get a hacksaw. And so that whole process of bringing the deer up and sawing it off on the road, but it was neat. I got a smile that was just so big, like, God, you're so good, and your timing is so perfect. That was memorable to me. The different houses that we went by, we talked about the architecture. We talked about Route 6 and the history of Route 6. And we found out the history of the road that we went down used to be an old Indian trail, and that became road years later. And we also found out that Ridge Road actually goes from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. So that was kind of neat knowing that stuff.
Yeah. I vividly remember that last day. And so my highlight to that was to back up, to watch how, and yes, you and Mike and Terry spoke on the phone, but to watch that connection once you all actually were in person, as if you had known each other forever. And that was just such a God moment for me. And to just watch the relationship develop each day, and to just see how God orchestrated even that, and things that we don't even talk about. And the reason I bring that up was to see Mike's excitement to go get the hacksaw. But I share that to say, when you know somebody else's vision, and you see that God is clearly moving in this moment, how others get excited about that vision. And that is what I pray for Ascension, that as we share this story, as we go on this walk, that others catch that vision and have that same excitement. Yours might not be the antler, so to speak, but when you see that somebody else has that vision and God is using you to bring that to life,
Right.
that should bring that same kind of joy.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, it does. When there's a group of people that share the same passion, share the same vision, I felt immediately connected to Mike. I never got to meet Terry, but I immediately felt connected to Mike, and just all of us being together. You know, people talk about that, like how you have instant friendships and there's a bonding there because you've got the same agenda, you know, that you want to do that. So that was, I remember was it the Applebee's in Napanee? Mike ordering the chicken. And
Yes.
That was kind of funny too. That was good.
Yeah.
We got a good laugh out of that.
Yeah. And just knowing, you know, individuals' nuances and what's important to them, and how seriously they take things. But again, when God puts you in that situation where you have to be a disciple, you have to be that vulnerable. You have to be that intentional. You have to be in that relationship. And I hope that as we take this journey, that's the foundation we're laying for the scholars of Ascension. Take this journey and allow people to be a part of the journey with you. Don't just go through the classes. Don't just go through school. God wants to do so much more in and through Ascension than to just produce a scholar. There's something in that journey, and there are Bryans out there who are praying for you, walking for you, who want to be a part of that journey so that you get to experience all that God has in store.
I totally agree. You know, I call it investing,
Mhm.
investing in other people's lives and just, you know, pouring into their lives and to look ahead and see like if we're gonna do this for Ascension, what's gonna happen 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road? What impact are they gonna have on society and um, for the kingdom?
Sure,
So
sure.
that's exciting.
And it was so inspiring to me and such a God moment that here we were on the walk and knowing that that was your desire and your vision. The other desire and vision that you had was to be able to wear shorts. And so we had these conflicting prayers going on because the training for me had been in colder weather. And that's what I was prepared for. And I didn't want it to get hot. And you were praying that it'd be hot. But it was so God to me that on the day that you were leaving, how uncomfortably hot it was. Oh my goodness. That you were able to walk in your shorts.
Yeah.
And that God literally hid that deer. That was not something, if you were driving, you would have seen
Right.
over there
Right.
off the side of the road.
Yeah.
You had to be walking, watch this, walking with God, right, in order to see that blessing. And so that was just so exciting and just another lesson to me for the scholars. There are going to be times in your life where you're on a journey and you would want to see God probably a little sooner. It probably would have given you a little more burst of energy had we gotten the antlers day 3, day 4. But God also desires to see your commitment to the journey.
Absolutely.
And so you could just almost hear God, my son, you've been faithful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shorts and all, right?
Right.
Here it is. And how often in life do we give up before we reach that point where God says, here you are. And so just for the scholars, just wanting to help ground them with the reality that although the journey may be rough, may be colder than you want it to be, and the heat is coming, the antlers are coming. Just keep walking with God.
Right.
And I pray that that is a message that the scholars get in their own journey.
Yeah, I agree. You know, in my business, one of the things that you have to be kind of a people person. You have to be able to read people. You know, people come to me and they say they want to do this, they want to do that. I like to read in, is there a commitment there? Are you committed to what you are wanting to do?
Sure.
And it doesn't take long before you can see if excuses come out or maybe the commitment is not 100% or this or that. Part of my goal is to try to kind of reinvent that. Like maybe you're selling yourself short, maybe you just haven't been pushed a little bit. So knowing people and how to get them to do something that's uncomfortable.
Sure.
That's part of my bag. That's part of the things that I like to just. But you have to know people, and I know everybody's wound a little bit different. But that's really my heart's desires physically. If I can get somebody to believe in something, and it's not going to come immediately, it might take a while, but it's worth the journey.
Like
and I'll walk with you, like pull-ups, because I have some video of you hanging from a pull-up bar, not being able to move. And I seen today somebody that did some pull-ups with some confidence.
Sure.
Being able to translate that into a young mind is difficult, but it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
And getting people to say the commitment, the hardship that you're going to go through, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. So if you can build that foundation at a young age, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing at Ascension. And so that's why we walk, because they're giving them that foundation, and they're grounding them in God's word. And so that's exciting. So I want to ask you, as you are a people person, do you think that part of your walk, part of your journey during this walk, has inspired others to kind of think of what their walk could be what their journey could be?
I hope so. I hope so, Brian. I hope that the people that I've talked with, I hope the people that have showed interest on Instagram or Facebook, or the people that the YMCA that I'm associated with, I hope they've seen that and said, hey, anything's possible. Yeah, I'm not a young man, but I'm not an old man either. And I think that sometimes we use age as a way to put a ceiling
Mm-hmm.
on us, our adventure, so to speak. God made me an adventurer at heart. When I was a little boy, I was very much an adventurer. And when you get to be a grown man, it just becomes magnified in different ways.
Sure.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I've convinced my wife that I can do things safely. And now my desire is to lead others in that too. So, I've prayed about this
Mm-hmm.
as far as what this is going to look like, and how can I share this journey. I'm hoping that people see my life and say, wow, not that I'm some great thing, but that I'm listening to God,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm able to walk or willing to walk with other people on their journey.
Well, I hope you know, and I need you to know that the scholars and the staff of Ascension, uh, the family here at Emmanuel, have seen you do that, and know that that is your life, and it has been very inspirational to know that you are willing to walk with others, and to help get attention for Ascension, and to be that model of what it means to submit yourself to what God is asking you to do. And it has been very inspirational. It is inspirational to me. Unfortunately, I think you do know me, and God is using you to pull that out. But I'm grateful for that, because in pulling that out, we get to continue to get attention for Ascension and have these opportunities to be used to help mold and shape lives for the kingdom. And so just very grateful for you being a part of this journey and being willing to be a part of this journey, so that we can mold those minds and continue to support the work that's being done at Ascension.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. I think you instilled in something me a while back, that this is not a one and done. And I totally agree with you. I think that this is going to be an ongoing thing. And seeing what God has got in store for Ascension in the future is very exciting. I don't want to give away too much.
Sure.
There's some things that still need prayer, but I'm not done. I'm invested into Ascension. So I'm very excited, and I want to bring others in too. I want others to share the dream and the passion that we have for Ascension and what it could be like.
Sure.
I'm 100% in.
And I thank you for sharing that. I am very big on people giving up too early. And the number of people who have shared, is there a disappointment or a frustration that the dollar figure has not been reached. It has never been about the dollar figure. There's 312 miles from Ascension to Cleveland. I am somebody who goes all in, and I like to dream big because I believe we have a big God.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I am also somebody who is sold out to when Jacob wrestles with God. And in that conversation in Genesis chapter 32, he says to God, I won't let you go until you bless me. Well, if we haven't reached it, that we set out there and believing that God can do it, that means we got to keep going and we don't let go. But so often in life, and this is something that I would love for the scholars to be mindful of. It's not that God is done. We give up because we didn't get it our way or in the time frame we thought we should.
That's true.
Are we willing to hold on? Are we willing to continue to walk? Are we willing to continue to do some other things until that which we've prayed for has happened?
Right.
And so I am very excited that you have articulated, and I am holding on until that blessing comes. And I'm prepared, and I'm all in and sold out, because it's not a one and done. This is a journey. And so we reached one milestone, and we'll keep going.
Right. I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being with us. Thank you for helping us on this journey to continue to get attention for Ascension. Thanks for being a part of our studio today and a part of our conversation. Please don't forget, you can still go to walk312.com for all of your information about the walk. You can still make donations there. And please check out Forge Fitness Solutions with my friend Brian Beard. God's blessings to you, and thank you for being with us.